I think most people would cheat if given the right opportunity. I never thought I could cheat on my wife. I was always faithful. I love my wife, yet I found myself starting an affair under the right circumstances. Needless to say, it's difficult to end it. An affair brings a different energy and good things, especially sex, that might not be present in a marriage. I know people by the majority will think it's wrong and they will never cheat. I just think that they would for the right opportunity. Divorce-worthy. We met at college through a mutual friend and began talking casually. After a few months we started to date. Things were going great, we connected with each other physically and mentally to a degree I never thought that I could have with someone. We both had different friend groups at the time, but we spent most days with one another studying, hanging out, doing the hanky-panky, and all the other exciting things that come with dating. She has this ex that she dated about 6 months before we became official, and although they no longer kept in touch, she still had a close relationship with his identical twin brother and older sister. She would talk with the twin brother fairly often via text and phone calls. I even met him during a FaceTime call, and he seemed like a good guy. These communications went on for a while when one day she was on Instagram and I asked to see a picture of her ex and the twin brother side by side. She went to the profile page of the twin brother without hesitation and tried finding a picture of them together. For some reason they didn't have any together, and I got this gut feeling that I had been getting bamboozled. Turns out there was never an identical twin brother, and it was the ex all along. I have never been one to check phones or care about someone's past, so I had never checked myself or even asked the name of her ex. I felt betrayed and confused. She assured me that nothing sexy was happening between them, but that she cared for him still, and they simply talk as friends. She cried and begged for me to stay and assured me she would no longer speak with him at all and block him on everything. I decided to forgive her and move on from this because her reaction seemed genuine, and I wanted to trust her as our relationship despite this was incredible. After 8 more months of dating we decided that things were going so well now that we would look to get married. I hadn't planned on getting married until much later in life, but she checked all the boxes that I was looking for in a future spouse, so I thought why wait. Soon after I proposed to her and she accepted. A few months later I get a text from a friend acquaintance at college telling me that he needed to speak with me. He started off by saying that he's wanted to tell me something for a while, but didn't know how to bring it up. Turns out my fiancée at the time had slept with some guy she told me was a friend the second week of us becoming BF and GF while I was on a vacation. When I confronted her about this she claimed it didn't happen and that she had no idea what I was talking about. After prying her for information she continued to lie until I told her I spoke with a gentleman and I know everything that happened, which I did call him, and we spoke for about 30 minutes. Also this was a completely different guy than mentioned before. She broke down in tears and began apologizing for what she had done. At the time our wedding was coming up fast, and although I was pissed I still loved her and I couldn't think of cancel the wedding. The entire wedding was paid for from her father and all our family had taken time off, booked flights and hotels, you name it. We ended up moving forward with the wedding and getting married. It was a phenomenal wedding and an amazing first year of marriage. For the most part I forgot about what had happened prior and decided to forgive her for anything in the past. I figured people oftentimes have a hard time transitioning into a new relationship and committing fully to one person. All good things must come to an end because during our second year of marriage, I had come back from my grandfather's funeral out of state which I attended alone because she couldn't get work off. I had gotten home from the airport and walked in the door when I see my wife cooking dinner for us. She left her phone next to a table we keep by our front door, and as I went to place my keys on the table, I noticed a text pop up from the ex with a fake twin brother. I don't remember what it said, but there was no messages other than that one, and it was not an opening line, leading me to believe they had been speaking while I was away. I showed her immediately and she went on to tell me some story about how her work was giving bonuses if they could recruit a qualified individual into any territory within the country. We were struggling financially at the time, and she claimed it would be a good way to make extra money if he ended up joining her company in the other state. I was flabbergasted that she would talk with him again after everything and that she delete all communication that had been taking place between them while I was gone. We had an extremely lengthy conversation about the whole situation and she told me they hardly spoke and that he ended up not even being interested in a new job. Apparently the text I had seen was just letting her know that. I wanted to believe her, but I had a bad feeling about the whole thing. So that night after she fell asleep I went into another room with her phone and laptop and starting going through her call history through the cell carrier she was with and attempting to recover anything that may have been deleted. I found multiple calls that went for 2-3 hours and texts that had been deleted. Unfortunately it didn't show what the texts were or any details that would have been important, but I did find out they had actually talked a lot. This put a large amount of strain on our marriage for a couple months, and she still refused to admit that it had anything to do with anything personal, and she was trying her best to help us financially, and so all conversation was around that. I eventually was tired of trying to get answered, and this has stuck with me till this day, because I was sure more had happened. Fast forward to 2 months ago, some of these lies have eaten me alive, and I have had countless nights lying awake wondering what might have happened. For the first time in about 2 years, I decided to snoop through her phone and see if there was anything on it. I didn't find anything, and even worse, my wife woke up while I was looking. She wasn't defensive or anything, and simply asked if I wanted to talk, as she knows this is not normal for me to do. We have an open policy with our electronics, including sharing our locations, passwords and everything else, and so she will look on my phone every once in a while when she might feel insecure or has a bad dream that I cheated, etc. I told her I would love to talk and that some things have been troubling me. I have brought up the same subject in the past because I've never been able to get over it, and I feel as though more had taken place. It never led to anything because she kept the same stance as the day I confronted her about this. I let her know I needed to know the truth and that I still don't believe her about them only speaking professionally. She wanted to know that I wouldn't leave her if she told me the truth, and I said okay. She said the truth is that they initially started speaking because of the potential extra bonus from work, and from there they started to catch up and see how each other's lives had been going. They called multiple times when I was away that week and had consistent communication over text. When I had found the initial text that day when I got home from the funeral, she kept in contact with him for another 2 or so weeks. She still says that nothing sexual happened over the phone and no pictures were exchanged, and they weren't flirting, simply catching up. Apparently what ended them talking is she started feeling guilty for them speaking after he told her if she wanted to leave me to be with him she could. She let him know that this was going too far and that they should no longer speak again. I asked her if she loved him, and she said as a friend she still does and she cares for him still, but the most she will do now is check on his social media every few months. This is incredibly difficult because despite the problems with this ex and other guy she slept with, our life is pretty damn good at the moment. We now both have great paying careers, no kids, travel, still have sex 4 or 5 times a week, and have some wonderful friends. My gut is telling me that it's time to move on because I don't think I will ever fully be able to trust her again, yet there has been nothing I've seen in the past 2 years to tell me she's cheated since, and it seems unfair to break off our marriage now. My question to y'all is, would divorce be justifiable, even though this was a few years ago and nothing happened physically? We are damn happy besides this, but these past weeks it's been killing me to think that something like this could happen again in the future. Even worse would be if it happened down the line when we had kids. Anyway, thanks for reading, and I look forward to hearing any advice that y'all have. What do I do? What should I do after finding out he cheated? How do I go after finding out I have been the other woman for 6 years? I have a kid with him, been dating him for 6 years. But no matter what, he keeps going back to his female best friend. He invited her over late night, they drink alcohol together, they party together. They have slept over each other's house together. Yes, I just found this out. I knew they were best friends since middle school, 10 years ago. They talk about everything. I didn't want to let my insecurities get in the way, as my old relationship, I got cheated on. He knows her family and she knows his family as well. I didn't want to think anything at first, but during my first pregnancy ultrasound, he would call her first thing right after we left the center. I assumed it was weird, but let it slide. But now, I've seen messages of them two sleeping together in the same bed. Him talking down of me to her. I don't want to get in the way of their relationship. If he wants to be with her, he can, but I don't like this feeling I'm feeling now. Now every time her name is brought up, I end up breaking down. I've devoted my life to him, I live with him, but he tells me every time he wants nothing to do with her, but she's always in the picture. Lesson from a bad marriage. Wife cheated with co-worker, tried to get us to fight. 28 years old male was married to 38-year-old female. Married 6 years, together for 8. Bought home together, built a life together. Make 10x more money than she does. I paid for everything. Realized she was a narcissist in 2020. Insert years of emotional verbal mental abuse. Co-worker of hers was in love with her December 2021. They started having sex, found out in March 2022. September 2022, worst months of my life. This 38-year-old dude started stalking me and her in the parking lots of Planet Fitness and even followed me to work. He blew her phone up with love and joy and mine with hate and threats. She tried to get him to fight me. She was playing us both. I tried to make it work. She loved telling me how much this coworker was better than me. I developed anxiety and panic attacks. Thanks Satan she continued seeing him. I tried for months to keep the marriage going, but it takes 2 people. She enjoyed seeing me suffer. Lost like 50 pounds at this point from extreme stress and lack of eating. Enough was enough. kicked her out of my house. Divorce September 22, 2022. I agreed to pay her rent for a year. Cheap price to pay to keep my house and sanity. Currently happy traveling through Europe with a new girlfriend who is sweet and nice. Ex-wife develops a drinking habit. Ex-wife got a DUI and had her car taken away, and the coworker dumped her because she left him for me and vice versa like 4 times. She tells me she hates men now. She is allergic to self-accountability. 5'0" ex-wife tries to fight a cop. I still feel the consequences of the trauma, but I'm taking things one day at a time. Much happier. Lesson. If he or she cheats, GTFO. Your happiness is not worth being sacrificed for disrespectful people. TLDR. Wife of 6 years cheats. I got sick of her shit after years of trauma. We divorce. She ends up as an alone alcoholic with a new DUI and no boyfriend. I got GF now. Woot woot. Oh, this video has come to an end. If you want more such cool stories, then go to one of the many following videos.